Okay, hello everyone and welcome to today's free webinar series from the Van Andel Institute for Education. Hello, and I welcome you here. I hope you are doing well. My name is Michael Grebe. I'm a K through 12 learning specialist here at the Van Andel Institute. Today, I'm super excited you were able to join me because we are going to be talking about something that has definitely come up in my classroom before, and I know will come up in the future. And I think it's going to come up for you as well. What we're going to be exploring today is something we call Hooked on Wonder, sparking student curiosity without a screen. Without further ado, here we go. If you've been in our webinars before, you know we have three very important things to cover really quick. The very first thing is that this webinar is being recorded, meaning if you want to watch half now and access the other half later, that is totally possible. If you love the content in this and want to share it with a friend, definitely possible. If you want to view prior webinars, that is all possible. You can find all of our webinars within our free webinar series on our website. Make sure you go check those out. There's a lot of great content on there that I know you are going to love. The second thing is the handout. In just a second, there is going to be a resource handout that is dropped in the chat function of the webinar. In this document, there is going to be summarized strategies that we are going to talk about all throughout today. It's going to be a nice like one-pager summarized sheet of the different things we cover and the different resources that we highlight. So make sure you grab that. Make sure you grab my slides. That way you can refer to that later. And there's a lot of good content that you can use in your classroom as soon as tomorrow. And finally, in the background, the famous Robin is among us. Robin, would you like to say hi?
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Happy almost fall.
There we go. Couple trees turning color outside the window right now. I hope you're looking forward to it too. Just so you know, Robin is going to be in the background. If you have any questions, concerns, if something's not showing up right, just drop it in the chat and Robin will be there to help out to the best of our ability. I mentioned at the very start that this is a free webinar series, and that would not be possible without our sponsor today, which is the Inquiry Outpost. The Inquiry Outpost, you can think of it as sort of this marketplace for teaching resources. It's strategies, it's lessons, it's challenge cards, it's all sort of goodies that are meant to save you time. And all of these resources we handpick because we know that they promote curiosity, creativity, and critical thinking in your classroom. Some of these products throughout the Inquiry Outpost are free. Some of them we do appreciate your support for because that's what makes these free webinars possible. So if you enjoy our content, we would really appreciate your support in our Inquiry Outpost at vaieducation.org, vaieducation.org. You can find that inquiry post. Support us there. We would certainly appreciate it. Our content today is covered from K through 12, so I'm curious where you are coming from. This kind of helps me gauge the conversation a little bit. So in just a second, there should be a poll popping up. Tell me, are you early elementary? Are you here for upper elementary, middle school, high school? Are you in admin or some other supports? I want to kind of know who's in the room. That way I can guide the conversation. So if you don't mind, just take a quick second there, submit it up, give you a few seconds.
I'm going to give about 2 more seconds as they keep rolling here. All right. All right, so we are at 63% upper elementary, 44% early L and middle school, and 13% high school. No admin or other.
Awesome. It looks like we have quite the spread with us, which is good news because we have strategies for any one of those different grade bands. These strategies that I'm going to share with you, I have made so that they are adaptable up or down. So we can think about that while we have this conversation today. So here's what it looks like. Very briefly, we're going to talk about why we think curiosity matters in the classroom, why I think curiosity matters in the classroom, and why I think all classrooms should value curiosity. Then we're going to get into 6 different categories. We're going to do it as an acronym today. We're going to get through 6 different strategies that you could start using as soon as tomorrow. And finally, we're just going to wrap up with those different resources that will get you on your way. So the very first thing, curiosity matters. Now, you might be like me, and what I noticed is that in the classroom, we use technology a lot. And when we relate technology to curiosity, one of 2 things could happen, right? The first thing is that your students are always surrounded by these screens, right? Whether it's their phone in their pocket, maybe you have classroom Chromebooks, iPads, whatever it may be, they're constantly surrounded by this stuff. Now, technology could relate to curiosity and be used together to create something really awesome. For example, if I saw this on one of my students' phones or Chromebooks, right, if they're Googling where do the stars go during the day, that shows me that they're being curious and that they're using this technology to sort of explore those different rabbit holes, which this could be an awesome resource to do. But what I noticed in my own classroom, and maybe you relate to me here, is that a lot of times, honestly, the stuff that students were engaging with on their phone was, to be quite blunt, just crap, right? Just garbage stuff that doesn't really promote any sort of thinking. It's kind of just this stuff that keeps them entertained. So in my mind, it was like I was always in this battle. I was always in this battle of sort of trying to promote this tech as this way to engage with the world, to be curious about the world, but then there was sort of that distracting side. So what I did is I scaled the tech back just a little bit, right? I kind of wanted to get back to the roots, back to the human connection that truly generates the curiosity that I know my students are longing for. So if you're in this webinar, by no means am I suggesting to get rid of all your technology in your classroom because it's distracting from curiosity. Of course, we can use technology for curious thinking, but I think that sometimes, at least I maybe overstepped that line a little bit and encouraged, or maybe didn't encourage, right? But that distracting tech sort of shoved its way into the door, and my students just weren't engaging with it like I had wanted. So here is what I did. I went back to the drawing board. I said, you know what, how can I engage my students with curious thoughts with no tech at all? That's super easy to implement into my own classroom. If you're interested in literature or studies about curiosity at all, I found 3 really, I think they're interesting studies, and they really promoted that curiosity in myself and discovering how I valued curiosity as a teacher. And I'll be very brief of this. If you're curious on reading these studies, I have all the study details in there, so you can go check them out. So the first study I want to bring out is one that Grover and al. did. Essentially what they did is they asked young adults trivia questions. And while they asked these young adults trivia questions, they took scans of their brain. And while they were answering these trivia questions, they were also asked to rank how curious they were to actually know the answer of the trivia question. And it turns out the questions that students were most curious to learn about were the ones that activated the memory spots in their brain the most. This means that if you can promote curiosity in your students are going to memorize your content, right? Any scientific thing that you try to, try to teach your kiddos, they're going to be able to grasp that a lot better if they're curious about it. The second study that I found super interesting was by Von Stum and al. This is a super interesting study that kind of made some dissonance in my own teacher brain, right? They suggest that curiosity can be used to predict academic success as strongly as intelligence. That means when we give students tests, right? Typically in my brain, right, I'm thinking traditional tests maybe are testing more for intelligence, but what if we could shift our thinking as teachers? Instead of testing for that intelligence, are there small ways that maybe we can flip it so that we are testing for curiosity instead? Maybe we're focusing on how they're thinking rather than what they can regurgitate. Again, this is an interesting study. There is a few sort of contradicting points in there, but an interesting study nonetheless. And finally, that third one, Very quick one. This one showed that one sparked curiosity led students to want to keep learning in a self-directed way. In this study, they took a bunch of young adults and they asked them, similar to the first one, a bunch of trivia questions, but this time they were provided an opportunity to ask more questions after that. It turns out the questions that they were most interested in or curious about at the beginning are the same questions that generated more curiosity later on. So if you can spark the curiosity in one spot, you can be confident in your students that they will take that curiosity and expand it, and it's going to sort of propagate itself, right? So these are all interesting studies. If you're interested in that at all, I really encourage you to take a look at that. So knowing this information, I tried to come up with different strategies, again, in the classroom that you could start as soon as tomorrow that implements well with probably your already pre-existing teaching practices. So we're going to talk about WONDER. WONDER is the acronym that we are using today. There's going to be about 6 different strategies that come with this. So with the first one, here we go. Our first one is going to be called Wait and Wonder. Now, I know you probably already do this in your classroom. Wait and wonder is this idea that we can make students anticipate or wonder about what's coming next. If they're trying to anticipate the next step, or if they're wondering about what's going on, that shows that you and them that they're curious, and if they're curious, then they're going to be able to remember that information more. Now, there are all types of ways that you can encourage anticipation in your classroom. Here is an idea that I use in mine. I use what's called the golden envelope. I'm calling it the golden envelope today. And the idea here is that you take an envelope. I've seen teachers do it with suitcases, suit bags, like big packages, right? And the idea is that you take something like this and you post it in the front of your classroom on Monday, right? I've seen this done weekly, daily, even monthly. I've done it Monday, right? So I post it up on the board Monday. Don't set it on your desk on Monday. Don't tuck it in your desk on Monday. Make sure it is visible to all your students. So up there on the wall, there's the golden envelope. We just posted on Monday. And the idea is that as your students build ideas from your lessons throughout the week, maybe they're acquiring certain expectations from you. If we get to Friday and all those expectations are met, or all of those lessons you have already flushed out, then we get to open it on Friday. Now, within these things, suitcase, golden envelope, whatever you want to do, these all build patience, anticipation, and it gets your students focused because your students are now working towards something. And that something, they don't know what it is. They're wondering, they're curious about what it could possibly be that you left in the front of the classroom for so long. Now, some different things that you could include in this envelope. I've used it like to tie different topics together, right? So on the Friday, hey, we spent all last week learning about such and such. This golden envelope is going to be our ticket into our next subject, right? I've seen it if you're looking for something fun, right? Like Friday Fun Day, riddle, or an escape room are also great ideas. Maybe if you do some sort of class prize, right? Maybe this would be a great way to anticipate that, right? To facilitate that curiosity. That way, at the end of the week, they're wondering what they get for being curious. Or it could be used for this. Today, I thought it'd be kind of fun if we tried this strategy with you all. Today, I have a golden envelope, except today it is not golden, it is blue. Blue is like our school color here at the Van Andel Institute, if you will. So inside of this blue envelope, I promise, is something that you are going to love. In order for you to see what's inside this envelope, you are going to have to stay the entire webinar. Now, it could be a paperclip in here. It could be an all-inclusive resort travel ticket. It could be literally anything. It's probably not those two things, but I hope it's somewhere in between, and I know you're going to love it. So stick around. We're going to open this up. If you're watching in the future, don't cheat. Make sure you watch the entire webinar. All right, this is going to go right back here. Posted for you all. Bada boom. Stick around to the end to find out what is in that envelope. That's your first strategy. Wait and wonder. Build that anticipation for your students. The second one, I'm going to call odd perspectives. Here is the idea. Odd perspectives, let me go back just 1 second. it seems like when my students wanted to share an idea, they were more worried about if they were wrong or not. In the lens of thinking about how we can curate a curious classroom, we don't really want to curate an environment where students can be wrong, because being wrong shuts off curiosity. So odd perspectives is a way to sort of combat it, to invite students to it's okay to be wrong, and it's okay to accept that you're wrong, and it's okay to change your mind because you're wrong, right? But what are some ways that we can get those student voices out in a low stakes way, right? So that they can just let that curiosity flow. Whatever comes out, comes out. Here's how I do it. I take 4 items. I'm showing you a picture of 4 items right now. Ideally, in the classroom, I usually use, 4 real objects. Maybe you can pass them around the room, let students feel them, touch them, observe them, right? But the idea here is that you take these items, and these items, I always try to tie to the lesson. I know some teachers use it, and they kind of use it as like, 3 serious and kind of a silly item to kind of throw them off. But the idea here is that you pick 4 items that tie into your lesson somehow, and you challenge your students to identify which object does not belong with the others. Or I've seen teachers ask it, 3 of these are connected, which 3 are connected, or what do these 4 objects all have in common? These will all have your students think about curiosity, because they are going to try to tie the dots, to draw the lines between these different objects. Hey, I see a bicycle there. I wonder, how are we going to learn about a bicycle? What does a bicycle have to do with a kangaroo? I wonder if those 2 things are going to be in our lesson somehow. So this is a great way to get your students stemming different questions off of each other to promote that curiosity in your classroom. Here's the key. Here's the key. Any answer is valid. Any answer that's came up, any connection that students make, any curious thought that students make sure you accept, because that shows them that being curious, to maybe making very abstract ties, or maybe ties that aren't as strong, those are still important ties, right? Those ties are essential for curiosity, especially as you extend it into the professional world. The more of those little ties we can make, the more curious connections your students will make, not only with your content, but with each other. And finally, I always make sure, especially with this one, every student is heard. It's not only 5 of them that are giving any answer that's valid, it's your entire class that's being heard, and whether they're wrong or not, right, they're being heard and any answer is valid. So make sure that happens. I've done this, you can do recording prompts if you have a, bell ringer at the beginning of the day, an exit ticket, just make sure everybody's voice is heard. So that's odd perspectives. Odd perspectives is just a great sort of spitball way to get out all the creativity with 4 objects, hopefully connected to your content from your students. Onward to the next strategy, I'm going to call nurture curiosity. Now, nurture curiosity, the idea behind this one is that once you have curiosity sparked in your classroom, it can be sometimes hard to keep that curiosity going. Now, nurturing curiosity refers to this idea that if we sort of reward curiosity in the classroom, or at least recognize it, students are more likely to do it. Here is how I do that. I nurture curiosity in my classroom by doing, I've done this before, it's called a Wonder Passport. Now, the Wonder Passports could look super fancy like this, or if you already do daily journals or something like that, this fits in perfect. This is what Wonder Passport is. Wonder Passport allows students to earn stamps or tokens, right, for intentional I wonder questions. Now, it can either be them asking really good I wonder questions, or maybe they recognize that another student asks a really good I wonder questions. The more that you can get them to recognize when they are being curious, or when their peers are being curious, and when you can reward them for that, especially if you already have a classroom currency going on, that is more power to you as a teacher, and I promise your classroom environment is going to improve in the curious way because of it. So it's this idea that we're celebrating wonder by stamps, tokens. Again, if you already have a classroom currency set up, keep that, but maybe try to integrate, right, that curiosity element into it. Again, builds a classroom that's curious, that you're bouncing ideas off of each other. And finally, it recognizes the students to recognize when they're being curious. It's one thing for you as the teacher to recognize them being curious, but if they in their brain can put together, hey, you know, we mentioned kangaroos earlier. I'm really curious about how kangaroos do this, right? Oh, wait a second, I was being curious about kangaroos. Maybe I really want to explore that world, right? So encouraging them to recognize it can sort of allow them to go down whatever rabbit holes they choose to go down. So that is the Wonder Passport, or nurturing curiosity. A couple different ways it could fit into a classroom there. The fourth one is called Do As I Do. Now, I know you already have strategies that you use that promote curiosity in your classroom. Whether you're going to try one of these new ones, or if you already have a pre-existing one, this kind of goes with all of them. The Do As I Do comes down to this. It's this idea that the teachers are also doing the curious strategy that the students are doing. And here's why. Stick with me here. I know this is a stretch, but here's why. If you already journal in your classroom, right, or maybe you already have a wonder wall, or maybe you already have whatever strategy going on, make sure you're doing it with your students. Because when you're doing these in notebooks, I've used a Padlet, right, to sort of organize the curiosity of my classrooms. If you're unaware, Padlet's like a online sort of idea board, right? Since we're focusing on no tech, right, I'm kind of focusing on notebooks, but I've done this with Padlet in the past. You can do this with iWonder boards, but it's this idea that the teacher is doing it too, and the students are seeing you. Here's why. If students see you, the adults, being curious, that means they get to see that curiosity doesn't stop in third grade. It doesn't stop after you graduate high school. It doesn't stop after you get out of college. It doesn't stop if you get through trade school. It doesn't stop ever. This is this idea of, if we can show our students that we are lifelong learners, that we have a lifelong of curiosity to explore, that means that they will acquire that same exact mindset, right? Hey, you know what? I wonder about things, and it's okay for me not to know all the answers, because I noticed my teacher's also wondering things, and I kind of thought they had all the answers, but now I realize they're just as curious as me. So whatever strategy you do currently, or maybe you're going to try a new one, do it with them. Show them that you're curious, so they can see that when they grow up, they will be curious too. Of course, you can reinforce this with the passport. You can reinforce this with classroom cash, whatever you got. That is always a good idea. So do as I do. Always try to do it with them. The next strategy we have is called encourage exploration. Encourage exploration is this idea that we can make these sort of micro choice moments throughout our lessons. I do this with all my lessons. It's kind of, I kind of use it as like a brain break, but also a brain break that still isn't just silly, right? That still promotes curiosity. And here's how I do it. What I do is I have this slide, right, that I show in all my lessons, and it says, what if, how come, and could it be? And what students do is they vote for one of those types of questions, right? So they have three choices: what if, how come, and could it be? After I get a class vote, if, for example, everybody wanted to explore a how come question, maybe it would be how come the sky is blue, right? And maybe if I'm already journaling, maybe if I'm already having them contribute to a wonder board, that could facilitate that. But here is the purpose of this. If you give these students these little tiny decisions that they can make on their own curiosity, this gives them ownership of the lesson. I do it without having to adjust my content a whole lot. You can either do the questions that align with your content, or maybe just silly, goofy ones that are going to get them just sort of thinking, right? So this is a super low-key way to be able to get that curiosity in while giving that ownership to the students. We were going to do this really quick. It looks like we're kind of running short on time, but here is what I'm going to give you. Here's what one of our what if questions after today would look like. I want you to just think about to yourself, as we're learning about these strategies, what if fostering curiosity in your own classroom improved not just engagement, but also test scores and retention? Just think about that. If you could promote curiosity in your classroom in a very effective way, what would it look like? How would your students be impacted by it? Which students would be impacted by it most? These are all great, curious wonderings for you yourself as an educator to think about as you create curiosity and curate curiosity in your own classroom. And finally, our final strategy is called reflect and repeat. Essentially, the idea here is that all these little steps, right? All of these little strategies culminate together and they create this thing that is your curious classroom. We see the Friday's secret up there. We see the odd one out up there. We see the everyday mysteries up there. We see the wonder passports on the tables. I know these are little teeny tiny steps, and I know you already taken little teeny tiny steps, but these teeny tiny steps add up to something really awesome and really curious for your students. So these small procedures make a huge impact. Consistency is key here, right? Don't just post that envelope up there once. Make sure you do it every week, every month. Set that expectation for yourself and make it work for you. Don't do strategies that you don't enjoy or that don't jive with your teaching style. If there's only one out of this webinar that works for you, try it. If all of them work for you, great. Just make it work for you. Try to weave it into what you already currently do. And all of these, you'll be able to start tomorrow. Because check this out. We talked about wonder. We talked about all these different strategies. We talked about that. We talked about a golden envelope. And I think we got to revisit this golden envelope because I think you're going to like what is inside of it. Here's the golden envelope. I'm going to come back here and grab it. It looks like it fell off the wall. Here is your golden envelope because you have stayed so focused, because of your curiosity of how to facilitate a curious classroom. Here is what's inside. Here we go. Because you've stuck around to the end, and because you're such a curious human being, I present to you, wait a second, let me make sure it's nice and big so we can all see. There we go. You probably can't read that because it's backwards, and you probably can't read what's down there because it's backwards, but I'm going to show you exactly what this is. On this slip of paper, it shows the following. In that mystery envelope that you stuck around so long for, there's this. There is a code. Now this code can be used in the Inquiry Outpost, and this is going to give you 20% off anything in the Inquiry Outpost. So if you're interested in those resources, I try to help you out a little bit. So there's that. Also, in this envelope, it says at the very bottom, free resources. Because you stuck around through this entire webinar, I've been giving you strategies, I've been giving you ways to facilitate it. What I've done is I've created templates for you to use in your classroom to help you do these different things. So for example, the different objects, right? Which one is the odd one? I have come up with some examples and maybe some discussion questions. That Wonder Passport, I've made a template for you. I've done a Wonder Journal. I've made what if, could it be, and how come questions for you, a whole list of them. I've given you a Wonder Wall. There's all sorts of resources. And here's the key. Those resources can be found in that chat link that Robin sent out. You click on that, you find the resource link, and all of this is there. So all of these are templatized and customizable for you to use as soon as tomorrow. That's what you stuck around for. Thanks for sticking around for my blue envelope. Our time today has just about wrapped up. I do want to give you this. Because we're talking about curiosity today, I thought it was only fair to bring up one of our upcoming webinars, which is called Curiosity Unblocked, Free Classroom Resources to Spark Wonder. So if you enjoy these resources, or maybe you're looking for something a little bit different, make sure you hit up that one. That one's going to be great. Wednesday, October 1st, 2025, 4 p.m. Be there. Make sure you get your resources because there's going to be a lot of cool stuff out of that. Again, thank you for sticking around. There's that thank you code once again. Make sure you record it down. That's going to give you that 20% off. My personal favorite are these challenge cards. These challenge cards are super easy cards to use in your classroom. They have engineering challenges. They promote curiosity. They promote creativity. They create critical thinking skills. All of that stuff is all thanks to our sponsor. You can find all that at vaieducation.org. I hope you enjoyed your time here today. And thank you. Sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being here. The job out there today, the teaching profession, is more difficult than ever. But your ability to stick through a school day and be able to be curious about the different ways that you can promote curiosity in your classroom means a lot to me. It means a lot to us. So thank you for being here. After this webinar ends, you are going to see a quick survey. I'd really appreciate if you took that survey. Let me know if you appreciate the strategies, maybe if you were expecting a little bit something else. I would really appreciate that feedback. That way I can get you what you need for your classroom. Again, my name is Michael Grebe. I have had the privilege and pleasure of being here with you. If you have any questions, if you're maybe trying to think about ways you can use these different strategies in your classroom personally, reach out to me. I have my email right there. I love to brainstorm different ways that you can utilize my resources, our resources in your classroom. So I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for attending our free webinar series. We'll see you next time.